I put my 2 weeks notice in at the company that we both worked in, a recruiting firm. I'm a sales guy, you're a recruiter. I put my 2 weeks notice in, and on my last day of employment, I got walked out the door. I wasn't fired, because if they fired me, they got to pay me severance. They fired somebody else who they said I was colluding with to go and start a competing business.
Yeah.
But literally walked out the door, canceled the going away party for a guy I had worked there for 6 months, good actor, added value to the company. And the mere thought and accusation that I would take what I learned in that company and go out and start something for myself on the side and profit at the company's expense was, if there's even any hint of truth in it, we got to walk you out the door and get you out of here. Part of it's setting a precedent that we're not going to put up with this kind of behavior to everybody else.
Yeah.
If you even think about starting your own gig in professional services, like, nope, you absolutely not. But the other piece of it, I think, is very much, hey, how could you be so unloyal? Or how could you be so disloyal to us? We've done nothing but prop you up as an employee in this company. And then they think, the company thinks, well, we've been loyal to you. You're being disloyal to us.
Yeah.
And then I would argue, was the company ever loyal to me? I don't think so. And so what I want to engage in is a discussion around what that company looked like. Because I think there's a lot of companies that look very much the same way, where you have all the wrong incentives and the wrong leaders in place, and it actually destroys the company from the inside out.
Oh, yeah.
So we're going to talk about a company today called Orion Talent. I have nothing against this company whatsoever at all. Neither does Ray, although you worked there for a total of probably 6, 7, 8 years. But pay attention to the topics we're talking about, because the topics are the things that you see in a lot of different small businesses and large businesses too. Let's start with the premise under which I was hired. I was told, as a sales guy, I'm hiring you for your voice. We need you to make 50 cold calls a day. And I want you to bring in companies that need to hire military veterans so that our recruiters, people like you, can go out and find people from the military that you already have in your network and place them in these companies. That was the job. What I find interesting about it is that across the company, there was 50 salespeople across the company. In our office, there was probably around 10 salespeople.
Yeah.
And so everybody had the quota of 50 cold calls a day. And we were told that by making the cold calls, you're going to get people to want to do business with you.
Yeah.
And that is the route for success. Making 50 cold calls hadn't worked since 2010. It was 2019 when I had that job.
Yeah.
And I knew, they knew, every person that worked in the company knew that making 50 cold calls was not going to bring any business in. But yet that was the quota that I was given. Why? Because we were owned by private equity. What does private equity want? Consistent profits. So they go and ask the management who's in place, well, what are the metrics we can put in? What are the KPIs we can put in to make sure that we have predictable revenue and profits to come into this company? And they say, oh, well, when I was an account executive in 2010, here's what I did. I made 50 cold calls a day to companies that never heard of us, and we guarded that business and turned it in. And so the private equity firm goes, okay, great.
Yeah.
The KPI for salespeople now is 50 cold calls a day. That's it. There was no other metric except for call time of just how long are you on the phone and how many dials do you make each day. And tell me why it's crazy that people just cheated those metrics. 50 cold calls, I can do that in about half an hour. I can call any Fortune 100 company and hit the big operator call box and then hang up, dial again, hang up, dial again, hang up, dial again. And then they say, well, Steve, you called the same company 50 times. Like, well, yeah, I was going for a different contact each time. I had a different extension on the back end of it. And just, you completely faked the funk. Why? Because I didn't believe that the KPIs that they gave me were going to be the KPIs that made me money as a salesperson. The breakdown was there. You were on the recruiting side of the business. What were your KPIs? And were they aligned with things that actually worked?
Well, the first boss I had, right? Apparently we had metrics, but he would sort of shield us from all that. The one metric that he said that he cared about was revenue. And that's it. And basically he said, as long as you're producing revenue, I don't care about any of this other shit. or whatever. But if you're not producing revenue, then maybe I'll cavity search you or whatever to make
But
sure.
that's a KPI that like any employee can get behind. Oh, that makes sense.
I feel like that should be it, dude. But everywhere I go, it's not it, because I've always produced revenue, and then the people that are looking at metric stuff. Because I remember the boss I was telling you about that I really liked, and I still do, and everything, right? But he was the last boss I had, but he was super into metrics. I just remember me and him having a bunch of conversations, and it was one of them though was he's like, and it's always like, you know, he goes, Ray, he's like, you're making really good revenue and everything. He's like, but he's like, when I look at your metrics, it's troubling.
Oh my God, man. There is nothing.
He said it was troubling.
Nothing. There's nothing more infuriating to a good employee who's hitting their numbers.
Yeah.
When they're being told that they're not hitting the metrics that don't help them hit their number.
Yeah. And the same thing.
It's so infuriating.
Same thing at when I left around the first time, right? I went to another company, another staffing company. Within the first few months I was there, I was already like up there top 3, right? As far as for their you know, I forgot what the fuck they called it.
With the KPIs,
gross profit or something like that, GP or whatever. But I was up there, right? And I remember all of a sudden I have a meeting with one of the managers, right? And it was, Ray, you're doing great. But you're not making the calls that we want you to make. And then they try to make it like, they're like, you're doing great right now. Imagine if you actually did the
such
like
bullshit,
you would have
man.
so much more revenue. You'd be number 1. And I remember just in that conversation, right? I was like, oh yeah, you know, yeah, you're right. Well, but it was sort of just like I was like zoning out, and I was like, and within a couple months I was gone, dude.
It's such the wrong incentive. Cash collected is the only metric that matters to a salesperson or anyone that's working in sales or doing recruiting. Am I making money for the company? I get commission based off cash collected. I don't get commission based off the number of phone calls or the number of outreach that I do. But why is it that every company wants to give you, well, you got to do this much outreach over here and then increase the database size over here. And those are the actions that are going to result in you bringing in cash collected.
Yeah.
It's like, well, if I can say F all that and just go to cash collected, am I good?
Yeah.
Like, well, we would rather you make sure you're hitting the KPIs here to make sure you get to the cash collected. And then they'll do this really stupid thing that happened at Orion, happens at other companies too, where they will have people who are bringing in cash into the company, good salespeople, good recruiters, and they'll say, hey, everybody, this guy's been here for 2 months. I just want to point out he's putting the effort in. Okay?
Yeah.
He has brought no money into the company, but he's putting the effort in.
Yeah.
He has all the KPIs. He's doing the calls. He's doing the work. And if the rest of you would do it, imagine how well off we'd be. Everyone in that room who's actually bringing money into the room is like, big F you, dude.
Yeah,
Are you
dude.
kidding me? He hasn't made a sale. And you're elevating him above the rest of us who are actually making sales because he's doing the phone calls and making the emails.
That's what I'm saying, because it's like management. It's like their job is basically to get you to do this shit, right?
Yeah.
And then you know what I mean? And then if you're not doing like all the calls and stuff, whatever, maybe someone's talking to them, you know what I mean? Like, and it's all the incentives or whatever. That's why I'm always like, if they get rid of, like, for me, it was like, I don't need a fucking manager. You know what I mean? I'm self-driven. I know how to fucking do this. I don't need someone telling me to make phone calls and stuff like that.
You're right, though. It's like your boss, though, is being rated not on cash collected. He's being rated on, can you get Ray to make his phone calls?
Yeah.
So that all the metrics are right. And it makes sense in the idea that the private equity firm or the owner of the business has decided these 3 events lead to cash collected. So I'm going to prioritize these 3 events so that I make sure I get cash collected and running a good business. But they don't do carve-outs for people that aren't doing those 3 things.
The carve-outs
and getting cash collected.
But
you must do it this way. We incentivize this. And so people start to fake the 3 things that they're supposed to do, the KPIs.
Yeah.
When they're not doing those KPIs to bring in cash. And then the problem is you start playing good soldier because everyone's getting bonus based off of those KPIs and making sure that they're hitting all their numbers. And so salespeople are faking phone calls and faking call time and calling their mom and their girlfriend and other people in the company and calling call directories to hit those numbers when they know it has no bearing on them bringing cash into the company. I'm only getting commission based off of this. That's all I care about. So they fake it. And then what happens is across our company, you had 50 salespeople across 7 different offices. And every day, those 50 people are faking 50 phone calls. That means on a Monday, we fake 2,500 phone calls. Tuesday, we fake 2,500 phone calls. We fake all the call time across the entire company. knowing good and well that that's not how you make money in the business, not how you get commission in the business. And then a new person comes in for their first day, and what does the manager tell them? Hey, everyone here makes 50 phone calls. They're on the phone for 4 hours a day, and that's how you find success in this business.
Yeah.
That person comes in motivated. They pick up the phone, they start dialing, and like, man, why is nobody buying from me? How come I'm not having the same success that everyone else is having? I'm doing the same stuff. I'm doing the KPIs, but I'm not bringing any cash in. Because that was never the thing that brought cash in.
Yeah.
The KPIs are all fake in so many of these companies.
Dude, and now, but it looks like it, you know, because we're all faking it or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, but for me though, like, because there's like the revenue, right? It really made me feel I was untouchable, right? So I sort of, in a way, I wouldn't do it just out of like rebellion, sort of like, fuck that. I'm not going to fucking make it seem, because like, and I love seeing that when they'd have the spreadsheet and they'd show me at the bottom of like call time, bottom of this or whatever.
But you brought in cash.
Yeah, but then all of a sudden, and that's where like, it would just like make them all like, because it's like, well, he's not even faking it.
and every day they'd send the email out that showed how much time you spent on the phone, how many phone calls you made. And they weren't sending an email out saying, here's how much money Ray brought into the company last month. They're just showing the inputs instead of showing the output.
Yeah.
Well, they ultimately care about the output, but they say the effort points is the input. So they're basically saying, you're a shitbag because you're not making the phone calls and doing the things we tell you to do. It's great you're bringing cash in and all that. You're the top recruiter in the company. But if you did these things, imagine how much money you'd be making in the company. And you're like, I wouldn't make a penny more. I literally wouldn't make a penny more if I did the bullshit KPIs than
in
what
fact,
I'm doing
though,
right now.
It literally, because like, you know, I brought up ADHD, right? It's like, because it was like, I was like, why? When they started slamming me with metrics, dude, all my drive, even the things that I was doing before, it all just kind of like went away, right? And I was trying to like, you know, figure it out, right? I started trying to play the game, do the, you know, but it was like, why, Ray, can you not do this or whatever? And then I had my buddy Art, he talked to me, and that's what he was saying. He's like, well, it sounds like, you know, ADHD, man. Like, he's like, basically, what you do it for the love of the game, right? And you're getting dopamine hits constantly whenever you connect with someone on LinkedIn or Facebook or whatever, and you find the perfect person, and like, but basically you're getting a dopamine hit by filling that position, right? And then now they're trying to tell you that you need to do it their way with the phone calls, stuff like that, and basically what they're doing to you, man, is they're robbing you of those dopamine hits that you used to get on your own by just doing it your way or whatever. He's like, that's what's going on.
Okay, so just to be clear, the company has duped you into believing that you have ADHD because you bring it in revenue without doing the KPIs. You're not doing it the right way.
That's what I mean, though. It's like,
it's so wrong, man. Like it's like you don't have ADHD. Like you don't believe that the KPIs actually get you to bring revenue into the business.
I just feel that
if you believed it, you'd be fine.
Everyone being put into one box, right? Because it's this works for a certain type of person, but not everyone. But you want to make it, you want to make everyone do it that way or whatever.
Look, KPIs are for really shitty employees. Okay, if you hired A players, you would have one objective for a salesperson. You would just say to them, "Hey, go out, hunt, kill, bring revenue into this company, bring us cash flow." That's all you have to say to that salesperson. They go out and do it. Okay, then they say, "Well, we can't find enough A players." So we need to go out and find more people who aren't A players. How do we get the non-A players to have results in the company? Oh, key performance indicators. What are the best people doing? Let's make sure that we teach everyone else the skill sets of how to make it so they can also bring cash in the company. Well, they're not a good salesperson. They don't have that drive to hunt and kill. So now the one key KPI, the key performance indicator that matters of bringing cash in, they got to say, okay, well, do these 17 things and get really good at these, and you will ultimately get to that main KPI of cash collected. Well, hire A players, you don't have to worry about KPIs. You just give them a target and say, go hunt, kill, and bring revenue to the business. KPIs are for employees that can't really hold their own.
Yeah.
That's just the way that it is. But every company has KPIs for their sales team.
Yeah.
They assume that they're hiring B, C, and D players who need KPIs to go make it happen.
No, but and you should start off with that. But once you prove yourself, you should be exempt from it, right? And,
yes.
And usually they say that, right? In the interviews, they'll say that, but it's never true. I remember in Navy recruiting, dude, this was one of my first exposure to this, right? I went from being just a technician on the ship. I have a problem, I fix it, I solve it, and I'm good, whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I go to recruiting, and literally they threw us to a sales course and stuff. We had this thing called the PATE. It stood for something, but basically, at the end of the day, it was all these numbers to get one recruit, right?
Yeah.
And one of the biggest things was how many qualified interviews you would do a week. And I remember mine was like fucking, because you start off, it's high. But supposedly it's supposed to go lower.
Yeah.
And it's supposed to go lower because you get better. But basically, I had this manager, right? And I had to get 10 qualified, it was appointments, sorry, to get one qualified interview, right? And it was like 10 appointments to get one. And it was sort of like, I remember I was like, what if my first appointment is a qualified interview? Does that mean like, and then he's like, no, well, you still got to get nine.
Yeah.
And I was like, and I remember it just baffled me. I was like, what do you mean? And then I was like, but this number, so what if, but I was like, how is this ever going to get lower then? You know what I mean? And then it was just like a catch-22 kind of thing. You know what I mean?
They're measuring inputs. They're not measuring the outputs. And they want the output, but they only measure the inputs onto it. And I think that it's wild. Why are there not more companies that let you graduate from the KPIs? If you're good at your job, you don't have to worry about all that KPIs.
Yeah.
If you're learning, we have a KPI. We want you on the phone a certain amount of time. We want you to do this much calls. But if you're bringing cash in, you just graduate from the KPIs. Do whatever you want to do. I don't care what you do with your time. Just keep on bringing the money in. And you're so right. Employers will tell you that in the interview. We don't care about anything, but you just being good. We're going to give you great work-life balance all the time in the world that you want. Just keep on killing for us. And then either the company changes or they get bought by private equity and somebody comes in and says, well, it's great that they're bringing cash in, but imagine how much more they'd be bringing in if we actually had some institutional key performance indicators to hold them accountable to. It's like, no, every company, you should be allowed to graduate from the KPIs and just say, I'm just getting results.
Yeah.
You guys good with that?
And that's what I'm saying. My first run with Orion, right? It was like I had this amazing boss, right? Where all it mattered was revenue, right? And COVID hit, business slowed down, and basically they didn't really have enough work for me. And I remember they wanted somebody to go this other team with this other manager I remember one of our breakfasts I was actually pitching because they had me selling pitching fucking car wash technicians, but it was a good fee and stuff, and I was like whatever. But I remember that boss and it was such a shock to me. Cause like I was spoiled by my first boss and literally I'm like, I'm getting results or whatever. And then all of a sudden I get a call from him, right? And it's a video call. And I just remember him saying, he's like, Ray, he's like, I know over there in fucking San Diego, you guys over there just, building relationships and fucking like just having really long-term relationships with you. And it's like, yeah, that's what we do. We build relationships with our fucking candidates and then we get them and then, they accept an offer or whatever. He's like, over here, he's like, it's one night stands. Because he was talking about my phone calls and stuff like that. He's like, you fucking talk to someone, you move on to the next one. You submit them, you move on. And I was just like, what the fuck are you talking about, dude? And I remember calling my old boss and I was like, bro, can I come back, dude? I was like, I'm not built for this, dude. But then I couldn't go back. And then again, it led to me leaving the company and then going to the next company and then literally doing good. And then all of a sudden getting that call like, well, imagine if your calls. And I was like, is it like this fucking everywhere?
Yeah, it is like it everywhere. It is. And it's just unbelievable that it's there. Okay, so we recognize the incentives are wrong. The KPIs don't line up with what matters to the business, making more profit. The KPIs are wrong. The other problem that we saw in our company and that I think a lot of companies struggle with is they elevate the wrong people to management. Like just because somebody was really good at the job does not make them a good manager of that job.
Yeah.
I learned a lot from my boss, who used to be the top salesperson in the company and became the sales manager. I learned a ton from him, dude. But he was not designed to manage type A's.
Have you seen it's like the high performance and then high trust?
No, I haven't.
So basically it's like you got your high performers, the guys that can bust out the calls, blah, 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 you know what I mean? Then you got the high trust people. Those are the ones that basically you would, if you died, or not died, but basically like, hey, can you, like, they're more personable and you would trust them to do things for, and
my life, my wife, my finances.
Yeah, there it is. Sorry. Yeah. So basically it's like, And that's what he said. He's like, you can always find out the high performer because you can ask who's the biggest asshole here, right? And that's the highest performer, right? But that's who they promote, and really it should be a mixture of the two, right? So, but they always do the high performer because he's and that's always the wrong because he's a low trust person.
And it makes sense. I get from the company's perspective, this is the top sales guy, this is the top recruiter, the top accountant in the company. So we want him to be teaching
They're
other
usually like
people
a sociopath, though.
his things. Like, how did you do it? Teach others, build more. There's a different skill set in doing the job and training somebody else how to use the tactics that work and perform. Because managing people, that's way harder than going out and selling something.
Yeah.
Way harder than going out and recruiting someone. For managing the people to force them to do it. Steve Jobs said this. He's like, never in my life have I been able to convince somebody to work harder who didn't want to work harder. That's the hardest job there is managing someone, trying to get them to work harder.
I always bring up my first boss, dude, the one that spoiled me to the civilian world, right? I remember one day I had like 3 turndowns. It was a really, really bad day for me, right? And I just remember him coming into my office, and other managers would be like, well, you gotta, like, what are you gonna do to fix this? Like, or you have to fucking, make more phone calls or something like that. He came in my office and he's like, Ray, he's like, get off phones. He's like, take the rest of the day off. He's like, go fucking walk a old lady across the street. He's like, there's something wrong with your camera today. He's like, you got to go fix it. But that was it. I was like, really? Like, because I was having a bad day, right? And it was sort of like any other boss would just be like, well, work harder or whatever. Yeah. He was sort of just like, chill the fuck out, dude. Like, you're just having a bad day, whatever. And
see, that's the interesting part, because I love Jay to death for that. He had done the job successfully, and he was also good at managing people who were successfully doing the job. That's such a rare thing to put those two together. He didn't micromanage you. He expected you to get results, and he was able to let you go. And if you weren't going to get results under his care, you would just end up getting fired because you had to get results to stay underneath his care and the way that he managed people. But he's a rare match of someone that could do the job and manage the job. I'd say 98% of the time, the person who's good at the job is going to be terrible at managing other people who are doing the job. And people don't see it. They value the experience that person brings. Well, of course, the secret sauce. Share that with people and imagine you'll get a 10x your output. 9 times out of 10, you're better off leaving that person who's good at doing the output and not trying to manage other people. And I think that you see this across so many companies. And it's so openly talked about by the employees who work for managers who are like, that person shouldn't be managing anybody. But upper management isn't seeing that. Maybe because that was them from 5 years ago. And you just keep on going higher and higher in the roles where you're managing more people that you shouldn't be managing until you have the really bad picks now managing the slightly bad picks, managing the worst picks down here. And it's just, it becomes, you climb the corporate ladder, you just see more and more and more of this. And it's so obvious to the people who are at the bottom of the rungs being like, my manager sucks. Hey, the KPIs you gave me aren't working, but he's just saying to keep on doing more of them anyway. And now I'm on a performance plan. What's a PIP? A PIP is a performance incentive plan.
Something like
performance improvement plan. That's what a PIP is. A performance improvement plan.
That means you're getting managed out, though.
You're getting managed out. There's a lot of people on PIPs because their manager is not designed to be the one teaching them how to get good at the job.
Well, that's what they say, though. It's like, because like if you bitch about the manager, right, you're probably gonna get fired because it's harder for them to replace that person or whatever and train somebody to be the manager or whatever. So
you can make the argument that middle management could just kind of go away.
I'm reading a book right now. It's called Bullshit Jobs, dude. And it talks about that. Like how like it's literally like there's just so many jobs out there that are just, they're bullshit. You know what I mean? And in my experience, literally when in our heyday and we were humming and stuff, it's like if you literally take my manager out, which I think that's like Jay, right? It's like not that, I think he understood that he didn't really have to get involved. You know what I mean? And basically that's what it was, almost like I didn't have a manager. You know what I'm saying? And like,
which is for your personality type, the right way to manage that job. But for someone who's not good at the job, they have to get good at it. He's probably the wrong manager for that person. Because how's he going to incentivize someone to just have freedom and do the right thing? And
we had some people like that. And I just remember he would kind of tell me about like, he was kind of baffled as far as like what to do with them, whatever.
But
that's
you can't
what
make somebody want to be good at their job.
Exactly.
If they think it's a joke to them, and they're not taking it seriously. No one's going to be able to wake that person up and make them good at their job.
Yeah.
You just got to manage those people out. But I think those are the major problems with companies that are out there today. If they would solve those two and say, let's align the KPIs with what people truly believe makes them money or helps them contribute to the company. And let's promote people to positions based off of high trust.
Yeah.
Not their ability to perform at a high level. That would solve a lot of problems. Would have solved that company's problems in a big way. And that company was one that I would define as being stuck. And there's so many that are defined. There's companies that are stuck. They can't make more than $1 million, or they're stuck at $2 million, and nothing anybody's doing is going to fix that. A lot of times, the solutions to that you can find at the bottom of the company.
Yeah,
you can go ask anyone who's brand new to the company, "Hey, what are the issues that we have here?" And like, hey, how much time do you got? Because like all the training I was given, I've been doing that stuff, and none of it works. So you're telling me to do a bunch of stuff that's not going to actually help the company out, but you're training everyone to do this stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, the guy who's managing me is an absolute dick. And although he might have been good at this job, he's not training me very well on how to be good at the job. So either I'm naturally good at it or I'm not.
Yeah.
And you see those who are successful in these organizations, it's very obvious. Like the ones who succeed are like, yeah, you were always going to succeed. No matter where you went, no matter what company, no matter who you worked for, you were going to be successful. And the ones who don't succeed, it was like, yeah, you weren't a winner. We can't just make people into winners out of nothing. And that's what's crazy about it. So how do we solve these problems? How do we solve the KPIs? How do we solve the management? When are companies going to wake up to realize that they're working on the wrong stuff and they're managing people with the wrong managers?
Yeah.
Is that ever going to happen? Is there a fix to it?
I don't know. I think I think the world is stuck. You know,
I'll tell you what the answer is.
What's the answer?
You go out and start your own business.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I know, yeah.
You become part of the problem, if you will.
Yeah.
Because look, if it's never going to fix itself, people are just going to be more and more frustrated working for people that they think are inferior to them on systems that they think it's just a waste of my time, and they continue to do it. Well, you know what? Have some agency and decide, I'm going to go out and put my employment in my own hands, and I'm going to solve this problem and do it a better, more efficient way than what my company is doing.
Well, I feel like, you know, because like, you know, obviously people get stuck because they have bills to pay, you know what I'm saying? Like, and they can't just, you know, just try to start their own business or whatever, because they have to pay their bills and everything.
Yeah.
But like when it kind of goes back to because we had this discussion before about disability and all that. I feel like when I look at like my friends that do that kind of stuff, it's because they have something that
I'm talking about the Army, the VA disability.
Exactly.
Yeah.
VA compensation, right?
Compensation.
Yeah. So because they have that, right? And if they're a go-getter, now they can go out and start their coffee company or whatever, because they know, you know. But if you don't have that padding or whatever, it's sort of like, oh, I just gotta grind it out in this or whatever.
You need a safety net. I think a safety net is one of the most important things if you're gonna take any type of a leap to go start a business.
Yeah.
Whether it's I can go live at home with mom and dad, I've got a savings account, I've got VA compensation coming in regardless of what happens, so that the bare necessities are taken care of. My biggest issue that I see people struggling with who want to start a business, but they don't do it, it's not because they don't have a safety net. It's because they've grown a lifestyle that makes it literally impossible to have a safety net big enough for them to ever take a leap.
Yeah.
So they leased a car they can't afford. They got a nice apartment downtown that they really can't afford unless they still have the job that they have today. And so between those two alone, and then it's like, oh, I'm going on nice dates, I'm going to nice restaurants, I'm partying on a Friday night, because why not? That lifestyle now, you can only be sustained by having that job. The worst thing that happens to those people is that then they get a raise and they go from making $150,000 to $195,000 a year.
Yeah.
And it seems like they've just been set up. It's a setup. It's an absolute setup. And it's not a step up that they believe it is. Now, you're making $195,000 a year. You increase your lifestyle by $40,000 because you're making that money. You've now made it that much harder for you to go and replace your day job income with something on the side.
Yeah.
It is easier for you to go out and replace $50K than to replace $195,000. And people will go and live a lifestyle at $195,000 because that's what they can afford, because that's what their employer is paying them. And then they're like, well, I can't go start a business because
it is like a human condition, though.
I'm stuck. It's a life, but it's the lifestyle keeping you stuck. It's not the employer keeping you stuck.
Yeah. Well, I said a human condition is sort of
lifestyle.
an American thing, whatever. It's just the consumerism, and it's a hedonistic, whatever. As far as basically whatever you make, you will adjust your life to that. So that's one of the codes you got to crack too, is like being happy with what you got and not, you know what I mean? Like,
Did you know you're allowed to get a raise and not get a nicer car,
right?
Not go get a nicer house, not go out to eat? Like, you're allowed to just like get a raise and save that money instead.
Yeah.
People don't know this. That's what I'm here to say. Like, you are allowed to get a raise and not increase your lifestyle. And that's how you avoid the trap of lifestyle creep that now keeps you locked into that employer, and it makes it impossible for you to ever leave and go bet on yourself, because the lifestyle grows to a point. Golden handcuffs is when somebody is making so much money that like nobody else, no other company in the world would pay me what I'm making right here. So even though I think it's BS and I want to go and start my own business or leave, I'm making such good money that like I'm not gonna be able to match it. So I am now stuck here and I'm in this prison wearing golden handcuffs. And that prison, although it feels like the company made it by giving you that money, no, the prison was made by your lifestyle choices, because you got the raise, so you bought a bigger house. You got the raise, you got a nicer car. You got the raise, put the kids in private school, started paying for a nice college somewhere. Well, now you need that job. Now you can't afford to live without that job. And that's what happens to people. And that's what golden handcuffs really is. And so if you can avoid the step up in lifestyle as you make more money, it keeps you with optionality to decide to go bet on yourself. If you wanted to go start a side hustle, wanted to start a business, it's like, well, my necessities only cost $50,000 a year. I'm not living a crazy lifestyle anywhere. So I can afford to go out and start a side hustle knowing I got to make $50K in the next 12 months.
Yeah.
That's way more doable to make $50K profit than to know that you have to go make $200,000 after all expenses to replace your day job.
Yeah.
And when people are living right up on the edge of their means, then the employer gives them a raise and they go even further to the edge of their means. The employer is trapping you into being employed forever and never being able to take a leap. And it's one of the saddest things that I see, because as someone who hasn't been employed in 7 years, who's looking at this from the outside looking in, I see people that want to go take that leap, and the thing holding them back is not their employer, it's them. It's their lifestyle that they've chosen to go live on the edge. They've never saved a penny. And now it's like, well, I want to quit, but I can't. And I want to like shake people.
Well, sometimes that's why getting fired might be the blessing.
It's the blessing.
You know?
It's the best thing for you. The challenge is when you do get fired, you get laid off, you get fired. The first thing you should do when that happens is not hop on LinkedIn and look for a job. The first thing to do is ask yourself the question, can I do what I just did for my employer for me? Especially when you get fired, you don't have a non-compete anymore. If it negated your non-compete, it's like, let me at least do both at the same time and find a way for me to go and do this for myself while I'm looking for another job. And I would argue that for the most people, if they really put their mind to it, they could create that job instead of going looking for another job instead. But it requires that you're not living a lifestyle that forces you to take the first job that throws some money at you. And that's where I think people need to be thinking about, take a step back. It's like, how do you fix this problem? Take a step back. I don't need the nice car. I don't need the nice house. And if you don't have those things, you think about, what are the necessities of life that I have to have? A lot more people could take the leap into owning their own job, owning their own business, and not be so stuck on, I gotta find a job and someone who's going to replace that 125K I just lost over here.
I think too, the world is sort of just shifting like that, that thinking finally or whatever, because of all the economic hardships and everything. And and not to just jump on the bandwagon of like, oh, Gen Z's changing this, but basically it's like that generation, I feel like they're seeing that or whatever, and you see it in their memes and their reels and stuff. Like they're all turning away from this traditional, you know what I mean?
And they should.
Yeah.
Gen Z has a lot of options, and they don't have to get stuck in this,
because they got to witness all
trap.
this stuff, like all these economic hardships, and they see how fragile it is, and it's not real. Like what we're talking about, employee loyalty and stuff. As soon as you're not useful, they're gonna get rid of you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so it's like it's them, but there's other people waking up to it and everything, and
you gotta wake up. Like right now is the time to wake up and see if you can go drive DoorDash and make $80,000 a year,
Yeah.
and that's like driving 5 days a week for 12 hours. That's not crazy to go work 60 hours a week on DoorDash and make $80,000. Like anybody can do that if you have a car. So like when you know that and you're in a job that's paying you $45K and expects you to work 55 hours a week, you're kind of like, well, this is kind of bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
Like I could literally just go drive around in my car and make twice the money I'm making here doing this job. And I'm not appreciated. And I'm being told to work on stuff doesn't matter. I'm working for a dick, or I go work for myself and I go do Uber and DoorDash. And the Gen Z has these options that millennials did not have.
Yeah.
We had to go find a job.
Mm-hmm.
There wasn't all these other options that are out there. And now between the gig economy, between what's happening with automation and AI and your ability to never before has it been as easy as it is right now
Mm-hmm.
to go and be a one-person company and have an impact.
Yeah.
And really support yourself. And I'm actually happy that Gen Z has these options, even though I wish millennials had them too. But I'm seeing them people take advantage and say, you know what? I need 50K to live. What's the least amount of work I can do to make 50K? Okay, I'm going to go and do that. Why would I be tied to an employer that now owns me for the rest of my life?
Mm-hmm.
And they're just breaking away from that, and they're hiking and they're enjoying and people say, oh, Gen Z is lazy. And I really believe Gen Z is not lazy. They just have so much more opportunity than we ever did. And they're taking advantage of it.
They're getting to learn
Good for them.
the lessons like a lot earlier than we, but
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Fix yourself, America. If you're a manager in one of those companies, if you're one of the ones making up those bullshit KPIs, let's fix those and not give people a reason to look elsewhere. And for those of you who are stuck in it, have some agency. Start your own gig. Start your own business. That's the message. And this is an unqualified opinion.